The sun, crimson like blood, slowly descended behind the jagged mountain peaks, painting the prairies in hues of rust and ash. The wind, dry and unforgiving, whipped sand against my face, constantly reminding me of the harsh reality of these lands. Black River Station, a solitary dot in the endless desert, bristled with leaning boards and faded signs, holding silent witness to days gone by. Here, where time was measured by the clatter of the infrequent trains, and hope was as fragile as thin glass, began the story I was about to experience. I watched as the train arrived. First, billowing clouds of smoke, then the piercing whistle of the locomotive, and finally, the rumble of wheels slowing their pace. 5 cars, creaking like the bones of a very old man, carried cargo, passengers, and, as I knew, mortal danger. I, Jacob Holden, a former sheriff, now a man hiding from the past, observed it all, leaning against the rough wall of a dilapidated shed. My hands, once familiar with weapons, now clutched my worn hat, shielding my face from the wind and prying eyes. I'd arrived in Black River several months ago, hoping to disappear in this desolate place, to forget the nightmares that haunted me at night. The town, if such a place could even be called that, was a miserable haven for those who defied the law or wished to remain unseen. Outcasts, escaped criminals, and those who preferred to dwell in the shadows found refuge there. Authority belonged to the Golden Grizzly Saloon and its owner, a former soldier whose gloomy shadow encompassed every corner of this godforsaken hole. But this evening promised to turn everything upside down. The audacious train robbery was scheduled for today. Whispers in the saloon spoke of the gang's plan, which was simple to the point of brilliance. Stop the train, crack the safe containing the gold transported from the mines, and vanish into the mountains like phantoms. A few days earlier, quite by chance, I overheard fragments of these conversations. The plan seemed flawless, honed to the smallest detail, yet they had not accounted for a single passenger. An agent. Me. I was embedded in Black River with a single purpose: to stop these criminals before they slipped away. My task was to observe, gather fragments of information, and wait, patiently biding my time for the right moment. Don't reveal myself. Don't interfere. But watching the twitching nerves of the gang leader, I realized the moment had arrived. In the crowd, filling the platform waiting for the arriving train, stood a tall figure clad in a long leather coat. It was Harper, the leader of this gang of notorious thugs. His cold, ice-like eyes, harboring a predatory malice, assessed the situation. He nervously rubbed his hands, betraying his rising tension. Beside him, like predators anticipating prey, his men shifted restlessly, as filthy and dangerous as he was, ready to spring into action at any moment. At that very instant, I noticed her. A woman, standing alone to one side, leaning against the cool stone wall of the station, swallowed by shadows. Tall, elegant, in a crumpled hat and travel dust, she seemed the very embodiment of mystery. Her face was hidden behind a delicate veil, but I felt her gaze, as sharp and penetrating as my own. It seemed to glide over me, assessing, searching. I understood immediately. She was not merely waiting for a train, she was part of something far greater. Biting my lip, I shifted my gaze to Harper and his men approaching the train. There were 3 of them. The time to act had come. I had to stop them, or at least to try. There was very little time left. When Harper gave the order, the bandits, like wild animals, rushed towards the train. A deafening explosion erupted. Someone had ignited dynamite. The train shuddered, and the cars, losing their momentum, derailed. Panic seized everyone. Screams of terror, the whistling of bullets, and general chaos filled the air. I clenched my revolver in my hand, ready for a fight. And then, in the very midst of this nightmare, the same woman I had noticed at the beginning of the journey emerged from one of the cars. She, like me, drew her weapon. Her movements were incredibly swift and precise, as though she were a professional marksman. Before I could even blink, she was already firing, taking down the bandits one by one. That's when I recognized her. It was Mara, the mysterious girl who struck fear into the hearts of even the most hardened criminals. I joined her, and we took cover behind piles of twisted metal, firing back at the approaching enemies. Thick smoke, the acrid smell of gunpowder, and the taste of blood instantly filled the air, enveloping everything. It was a real slaughter, cruel and merciless. "Who are you?" Mara shouted, quickly reloading her weapon. Her voice, it seemed, didn't waver a single iota, remaining as steely as ever. "The one who was supposed to stop you," I replied, never taking my eyes off the enemy. The enemy figures scattered, desperately seeking cover. The skirmish was brief, yet it felt like an eternity. Under the relentless barrage, the bandits faltered, their ranks thinning, and they attempted to retreat. Seeing the situation turning dire, Harper bolted towards his horses, hoping to escape. We gave chase, determined not to let him go. After a wild ride across the hills, through clinging, thorny bushes, the horses raced, as if crazed, over the uneven terrain. Harper was a deadly threat. Experienced, brutal, and desperate, he was an opponent to be feared. In the midst of the chase, Mara, never slowing her pace, caught up to me. "What are you doing here?" she shouted, dodging a bullet that whizzed past. "You shouldn't know," I replied, taking aim at Harper. Suddenly, his horse stumbled, collapsing to the ground. Harper, ejected from the saddle, tumbled down the slope. I leveled the pistol at him, ready for the final shot. "Don't shoot!" Mara cried out. I spun around, raising the pistol. In her eyes, the color of a storm cloud, a mixture of anger and bewilderment, perhaps, or maybe surprise. Something indefinable caused me to lower my weapon. We searched Harper. His face, a road map of scars, was twisted with fury. In the grimy satchel slung across his shoulder, we found a map. It depicted, with rough lines, a cave in the mountains. The place where they intended to hide, to make their escape with the loot. I pictured the cave, a gloomy den, where they planned to divide the spoils, a splitting of hundreds, thousands of coins. We bound Harper and his surviving accomplices, a total of 5 men. Now we had to decide what to do next. Take them to Black River and simply hand them over to the sheriff? No, that would be far too easy. In this city, justice was sold for a pittance, and Harper, that powerful man, could buy his freedom at any time. "What are you going to do?" Mara asked, as we sat by the campfire watching the prisoners. Night descended upon us, cold and silent, like a heavy blanket. I remained silent, gazing into the dancing flames. I thought about the past, about what had brought me here to this godforsaken place among these people. I thought of those who awaited justice, those to whom I owed a debt. Memories like shadows swept before me, faces, events, feelings. I'll take them to the prison in the neighboring county, I finally replied, breaking the silence. "There's an honest sheriff there." Mara nodded, and in the depths of her eyes, I saw a glimmer of understanding. She, like me, was fleeing the shadows of the past. "I will help you," she whispered, and in those words, an unwavering determination resonated. For several long days, we, like phantoms, wandered the wild, winding paths, dragging our prisoners behind us. A lack of food and sleep became our daily reality, and danger lurked at every turn. The mountains unleashed upon us an icy wind and a prickly, like shards of glass, snow. We fought the elements with our last remaining strength, exhausted to the limit. Sometimes it seemed as though we were on the verge of complete exhaustion, but we kept moving forward. Finally, after long trials, we reached our goal. We handed the criminals over to the hands of justice, having fulfilled our duty. Everything went smoothly, exactly as we'd planned. On that very day, as we were about to leave the quiet town, Mara approached me. Her eyes were shining as she said, "You made the right decision." She held out a small leather pouch. "What's this?" I asked, instinctively touching the cracked leather with my fingers. "Part of the reward for Harper." "You earned it," she replied, giving a slight smile. I opened the pouch. Inside lay several glittering gold coins. I knew it was a large sum. Money mattered the least to me now. "I don't need money. I need freedom," I declared firmly, attempting to conceal my agitation. A strange flicker crossed her eyes, something I couldn't put into words. A mixture of surprise, sadness, and relief? Perhaps disappointment, or maybe even hope. Who could say? "Then go," she said, her voice a touch husky, "and find it." I looked at her, trying to decipher something in her expression. Again, like on that memorable day at the old, abandoned station, it seemed she was hiding something very important, something she didn't want to talk about. "And you?" I asked, unable to contain my curiosity. She smiled, but it was a strange, broken smile. I understood then that behind it lay a pain and loneliness she desperately tried to conceal. "I have my own path," she replied, and a flicker of determination shone in her eyes. We said our goodbyes, and each of us went our separate ways. I left her standing on the side of the dusty road, illuminated by the rays of the setting sun. I walked forward into complete unknown, towards fate. I would never know who Mara truly was, or what destiny had in store for her. But I knew one thing for certain. She had turned my whole life upside down. Mara showed me that even in times of utter darkness, there was still a place for conscience and hope. I traveled through many cities and states, but I never forgot Black River, her face, that enigmatic smile, and all her actions. And in every city, in every backwater saloon, I searched for her with my eyes. With the passage of time, my world transformed. Memories surfaced of all the crimes I had helped solve, all the innocent people I had saved. I saw how justice, slowly but surely, was being restored in this harsh world. And this brought a little ease to my soul. I began to believe that I could wash away the stain of my past. And then one day, in a dusty saloon in a forgotten town, as if at the edge of the earth, I heard her name, Mara. Someone at a table lowering their voice was telling stories of a woman shrouded in legend, about the one who did good deeds, helping the poor and the downtrodden, about the one who fearlessly dealt with bandits, defending the weak. I instantly understood. It was her. Something painfully stirred within me. Perhaps it was a timid hope, barely flickering in my soul. Or maybe something more. I don't know. In that moment, I felt a mix of emotions, despair, relief, and perhaps a nascent feeling that was destined to become my guiding star. I simply knew that I had to see her again, no matter what. Days went by, one after another, until, at last, I found her. She sat in the very same saloon at the familiar table, sheltered from the midday sun. Her face seemed even more weary now. The wrinkles around her eyes spoke of years lived, and a wisdom gained through long wanderings shone in the depths of her gaze. But when her eyes met mine, a smile played upon her lips. In that very instant, I knew I'd found my true path. I remained by her side, and together, we fought for what we truly believed in, no matter the cost. We didn't become heroes whose names echoed throughout the land. No. We simply became those who offered a helping hand to others, who shared warmth and faith, asking nothing in return. Life flowed on, bringing with it both triumphs and defeats, intertwining joy and sorrow. Yet we always stayed together, hand in hand, supporting each other through all times. It was in this that we felt our true freedom, bound by nothing but our own hearts. Sometimes when I gazed pensively at the crimson sunset, Black River would surface in my memory. I could see the wind dancing with the sandy dunes, feel the rumble of an approaching train, and see her, so near and dear. And then, deep inside, I understood that it was all not in vain, that every day lived, every emotion experienced held significance. I knew that the journey, from beginning to end, was filled with meaning.